So you want to be a game master, right? Consider one-offs. Now, what do I mean by one-offs? A lot of people mean similar things with this is when we have a game session that is going to be the game session. So you're not going to have to worry about long-term play. You don't really need to go heavily into character development, anything like that. Generally, when one-offs, in my experience, pop up, it's usually when you're not expecting them. So you go someplace else, and your intention is just to have it. You're having fun doing something else with your friends, and something changes or the weather changes or a number of different scenarios pop up, and then suddenly they say, hey, let's just play a game. And so you're the favored dungeon master now, and they would turn to you and they say, well, what do you want to do? Once again, this is why I point out that having adventure modules, things like this, is quite conducive to this. But you can also have yourself a notepad or two, just where you've had yourself some ready-made ideas for how you might run a new game or a new campaign, or not a new campaign, but an introduction to a new campaign. One-offs generally don't need to worry about the session zero and establishing boundaries and things like this. Generally speaking, it's a given that we're going to do an impromptu game, and we don't need a whole lot of BS to go along with it. And it's just straightforward, kill a couple hours, whatever we're doing. I have done this in where I've been waiting for a bus before. I've been on a bus and ran a session like this for a couple people. And basically, there were no character sheets, there were no monster manuals, there were nothing except my memory and their goodwill. And at that time, we were, a deck of cards we were using for an impromptu dice set instead of having some dice handy. Generally speaking, in the past, I used to carry dice with me all the time. You just never knew when you were going to want them. And so that's kind of changed as I've gotten older over the years. This also can happen when you're playing at somebody else's table, and for whatever reason, the game master for that table isn't available or isn't up to playing, and they just want to get through the day. We got a session, everybody's here. What can we come up with something? And you can fire something off from your hip. That's always fun and grand and great. You don't have to go into a lot of elaborate effort. I guess is where I'm going. And the modules, of course, just make the life much easier and simpler if you have access to one. But even if you don't, once again, there's opportunity for some experimentation and things like that. Keep that in mind. One-offs can be both fun, and they can also lead to longer committed campaigns. I mean, you might be surprised. It might involve people that have never played before. It might involve people who've never played at your table or with your style before. All this is a good thing. It gives you a variety and experience. Don't be afraid to game master outside your comfort zone, to experiment with things like this. One-offs are also an opportunity to introduce new game systems to your table. So let's just say one of your players is not here for the day. So instead of just saying, well, what do we do? Do we shelve their character? Do we ghost them? Do we run it for them? What would the player be okay with? Why don't we just say, hey, you know what? I've got this new game system over here that I've been interested in. Why don't we take a gander at it? Maybe do a quick run through on it and see how it goes. That's the great time for things like this. Anyway, I'm me, you're you. This is Gray and White Mama sitting down here. Till next time, you guys have.